Would have been nice if I tagged the game, wouldn't it? On this week's episode, the Fast and Furious will ride and die at 11. The Joker surprises the Justice League. And who's been given the Great Pumpkin this time? Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown. I gotta see which one sounds better, so it always, it sounds better in post. Charlie Brown. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. Charlie Brown will never get any love. I'm telling you right now. Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. Nobody out there listening to this on radio will ever hear how many times I said Charlie Brown. But it is truly great to be back here once again. And I cannot thank you enough for joining us. If you get a chance, please follow, subscribe, share, do whatever you can to support us, including throwing out some of those Facebook gaming stars at us. And if you do, it is truly appreciated right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, and of course the Lakers Fast Break as well. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here along with my good friend. You knew him from The Voice from the Underground, and he's been on this show several times. You want to go ahead and check out what he's doing at whatever he's on this show or wherever he's at in the podcast realm. It is my good friend indeed. It is Mr. TJ Johnson. And TJ, thank you for stepping in for Marcus De La Garza this week. He's actually going to be doing some stuff as far as for our Game Source profiles, which out there, if you haven't gotten a chance, check out our Pop Culture Cosmos podcast channel. The Game Source profiles, the first one we threw up there this week, and that is you and Hugh Van Lee talking about Watch Dogs Legion, previewing that's upcoming game coming out next week. So if you get a chance, check out our Game Source profile of that. I know you had a good time talking about Watch Dogs. In fact, I think I got you playing Watch Dogs once again.
You did, man. I remember because we were talking about my moment, my gamer moment where I got to jump off the roof and roll off and jump into the car and then hit the other guy's car and T-bone him right into the lake, and it was great. And that was how I ended the mission because I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. I had no idea how I was going to catch him, and sure enough, it just was the grace of the Xbox gods that allowed me to line it up perfectly. So yeah, talking about it, man, got me kind of fired up. So I had fired up the old Watch Dogs, and I was thinking about jumping back on Watch Dogs too, but I think I'm just ready for Legion.
I don't blame you. A lot of people are excited for it. I mean, we had a great profile. It came off really well. So if you get a chance, check out the Game Source profile that's already on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel already. Had a great conversation with you and Hugh Van Lee on it. I know that we were going to talk before we started the show about the Call of Duty Cold War beta. I know you didn't get a chance to play it. I know they extended by 24 hours. I know a lot of people were interested in it. I'm interested in jumping back in, but you're not, because you say you have some COD fatigue, and this doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, the fun thing, I remember back when it was Modern Warfare and then Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. And I remember as I'm playing those games, it's like, I'm just invested in the story at this point. I'm invested in Soap McTavish. I'm invested in I was in Captain Price. I was invested in those characters and those stories and that entire thing. So when it was done, I was like, okay, all right, I think I'm good. And then Modern Warfare came out a couple years ago. Was it just last year or was it the year before? It might have been last year. I don't remember.
Was it the remake or
the remake? Yeah, the remake. I don't think that was just last year, but then that came out last year, and I was like, well, I got to see what's going on with Captain Price now, how they figured all this stuff out, and that was an awesome game, an awesome single player experience, and the multiplayer was pretty darn good too. But saying that to say, I think I'm still going through Call of Duty fatigue.
Well, like you said, because they had Infinite Warfare, Advanced Warfare,
exactly, Infinite, Advanced. It's just always another one. Black Ops 2. There's just, and it's one of those games where I think they annualize it because they have different companies doing it for different years.
They have 3 studios. I believe.
That's a
7.
lot of studios pumping out a lot of Call of Duty. And
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not mad at them because it sells. You know, Call of Duty is one of those games that people just seem to instinctively purchase. They hear a new Call of Duty coming out, they're going to grab it. They're going to grab an old Call of Duty thinking it was a new Call of Duty. They don't know.
That's one of those. That's one of those on a good rotation where you have everybody's got to pick up the yearly Madden.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got to go ahead and pick up the yearly 2K.
Yep.
Not WWE 2K because those have been awful. So that they did themselves in with that. But and everybody's
19
also
wasn't that bad. 19 wasn't that bad.
I don't know.
20 was terrible. 20 was just
there you go.
garbage.
Okay,
Just throw it away. But 19 was probably one of the better ones of the 2K series for wrestling.
Well, that's the reason why Battlegrounds was made, because 20 was so gosh darn awful. But then now you have Call of Duty, of course, coming out every year. I mean, it's all about sales, and Call of Duty is either at or is the number one selling game each and every year. So if people didn't stop. I mean, if people stopped buying it, then you would stop seeing it annualized. But you're going to continue to see that going forward.
Exactly. Nobody. It's just like Madden. Madden every year is terrible. And when I say terrible, there's no incentive for them to continue to get better. Yet every year, everybody has to have the new Madden. Same thing with 2K. 2K, I think IGN rated 2K like a 6 out of 10 for how aggressive the microtransactions have continued to be and how little they improved on the actual game for this current gen.
People keep spending money on it,
They keep spending money. They keep spending money on the game. They spend money on the microtransactions. They spend money on everything that comes with it. So, of course, well, I mean, why would I stop? If you're going to continue to spend money on a product that I'm putting out, whether it's great or not, if you're going to continue to spend money on it, there's no incentive for me to stop doing what I've been doing because you're going to buy it anyways.
So I'll tell you what, my friend, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to gaming. And you said Call of Duty. For me, for Call of Duty, for me right now is something I'm interested in getting back into because of the Cold War. Ronald Reagan getting involved as far as in the campaign. I know you've seen the trailers. I know the Cold War bitterness and tense action is going to be brought up to an all-time high. That's why I'm getting involved with it, I think. But I can understand with the Call of Duty fatigue out there why you're staying off for now.
Yeah, just for now. I mean, you might say something that sparks my interest again, and I may decide to just take a look. Especially, I mean, if you're going to play it, then it's going to be good. So
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, there's still a lot more to talk about on today's program. In fact, we've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to talk about the Fast and Furious. The family is riding and dying at number 11. We'll talk about that coming up later in the program. Mac Marshall from Turtle Beach is stopping by on the back end of the show. He's going to talk about why you should think about Turtle Beach, not only for your current console now, but for the next console generation. He's going to talk about that coming up in the show later on. Jared Leto, he's coming back as the Joker, but in a very surprising place. We'll talk about that coming up. Disney debuted a great trailer, I think anyways, Raya and the Last Dragon. We're going to talk about that coming up as well. Borat. I'm not going to say the long extended name, that's coming out. Just basically say Borat 2. That's coming out on Amazon Prime this weekend. So we're going to talk about that because there's already a lot of controversy going on with that. And you know what? I think Borat wouldn't have it any other way. Plus, I got to tell people out there some bad news when it comes to the world of Charlie Brown. There's going to be no Charlie Brown on CBS or ABC coming up this holiday season. I know a lot of people are upset about that, and we'll tell you why coming up on the back end of the show as well. But first, my friend, the major news story of the week was something that it was not surprising that it happened, but it was surprising that it happened this quick. I'll give you a story, my friend, because I am blessed enough or was blessed enough each and every year to go to CES. And one of the things that I got privy to was I got invited to the press conference in January to basically announce the Quibi format. I mean, they're going to have all these representatives there, Jeffrey Katzenberg, all the bigwigs that got all this funding, up to almost $2 billion in funding ahead of time for this streaming outlet. Now, the gimmick is, if you haven't heard, in fact, since it's already going to be, pretty much a done deal, the deal was that if they come out with a movie, let's say the Kevin Hart movie that came out in a couple months ago, which was probably their biggest of all their movies that they actually had released with John Travolta and Kevin Hart, that was released to you or users of the Quibi format in 10-minute, aka quick bites formats. They were targeting millennials. They were targeting the people that were on the go. They were saying, "Oh, well, you don't have enough time to go ahead and watch, a streaming outlet on Netflix or Disney Plus or Hulu, or whatever. So why don't you watch? So why don't you go ahead and subscribe and watch our stuff in 10 minutes at a time? Maybe on a lunch break or just a regular break, or maybe just just 10 minutes before you go to bed or something like that." Well, unfortunately, the worldwide audience out there was not there for Quibi. And this week they had announced that Quibi is done, and they're actually closing down operations as a whole. And all that big name talent that provided their, input, their talent, their projects to it, all that's being lost. I'm sure that it'll probably wind up being on some or other streaming format. I'm sure Quibi will have to sell it off, because if they've already received a substantial amount of losses, which they have. In fact, at one point in time, I think it was reported that they had as low as 30% of their subscriber base that they had planned for. I think that they're going to go ahead and have to sell off their library. It is a small library, but it is there's still a library. There's some big names on it. So I want to hear your thoughts on Quibi. Did it ever appeal to you? And why do you think it really bit the dust?
I got to admit, the only part that I ever really remembered about Quibi was the commercials for Die Hard. The Kevin Hart one that you were referring to. That's really the only thing I can tell you that I've heard about when it comes to Quibi. In fact, if I'm going to be frank with you, I forgot Quibi existed until a couple, I want to say maybe
so did you and a lot of other people.
I want to say it was about 3 weeks ago where, T-Mobile offers T-Mobile Tuesdays. Yeah. And one of the particular offers for T-Mobile Tuesday was 6 months of Quibi for free.
Thank goodness not a lot of people took that deal, right? They'd be
they'd be a little ticked off. But I told myself I'd sign up for it just because, again, it was going to be 6 months free. So like whatever. And I never did. It never really appealed to me. I understand the premise. I understand the rationale. People like to have things bite-sized. They like to have these little bite-sized snippets between all the Snapchats and the Twitters and all the quick takes on everything. Everybody wants very, very small, but right now they want their stuff instantly. So I understood the premise. I understood the logic. It seemed to make sense. I just don't know if, I shouldn't say I don't know. It's obvious. People just didn't get behind it. They just didn't get behind it. They just weren't feeling it. Like I said, the only thing I could ever tell you from Quibi was that Kevin Hart part, and I never watched that either. So it's not a surprise to me. I think it's a surprise at how quickly it went down, though, considering how much money that they had up front.
Yes.
That's a lot of money to blow through.
It was either $1.75 billion or $2 billion.
It was $2. Yeah, I remember reading it was $2 billion. $2 billion.
And they had a star-studded as far as its opening. They're talking about all the stars that were part of it. There were actually quite a few, Sophie Turner, and there were several others that were, that did projects under it. And it just seemed like too little, though. It would be like one major project would come out this month, and then another would come out this month, and then another. It's some of the similar things that we can talk about when we talk about Apple Plus later in the program with a certain a certain project that we're going to talk about. But it just seemed like there was not enough, and I think a lot of people just decided to, you know what, I don't want any part of Quibi because it just doesn't have a full library. I mean, if you're going to spend the money on Quibi and the library, as opposed to, let's say, Disney Plus or Netflix or something like that with the huge library that they have, I'd rather go ahead and find something, watch 10 minutes of Netflix, watch 10 minutes of Disney Plus, than spend the same exact amount of money for Quibi. And that just doesn't seem like it was ever going to be a good deal for people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then especially, you kind of hit the nail on the head. You've got so many other options. You've got the Netflixes, you've got the Disney Pluses, you've got Apple Plus, again, as you mentioned, we'll talk about later in the program. There's just so many different options and opportunities for you to catch your little subscription-based services that Quibi just didn't offer. It just didn't offer enough. Like I said, besides you mentioned Sophie Turner, I didn't even know she was a part of it. So obviously I know John Travolta was in it with Kevin Hart in that one particular thing. that's about it. I think this Anna Kendricks had something. I don't know,
Yeah,
but it
I
just
think she did
wasn't.
too.
Yeah, but it wasn't anything that would have sparked my interest or caught my attention. So it's not surprising. It's surprising how quickly. It's not surprising that it went under, but I am shocked that they got that 2 billion and it's done already. Like that is shocking to me.
It's very sad to see it in a way because there were 200 people that are now going to be laid off out of work. Anytime you see that happen, that's a very sad sign. But it is something that I think was very hard for people to digest, I think, as far as it's concerned, and as an option. I know a lot of people were going to say in hindsight that the coronavirus, because it came out at such a bad time, because obviously it was meant to be where people are at work and people are out and about, things of that nature, to go ahead and check in for 10 minutes, maybe if they're at the park or at work or something like that. I don't know if it would have worked under regular circumstances. Let me ask you this. Do you think of everything, let's go back in time to 2019. Would Quibi have worked had it come out in 2019?
That's a great question. I think they would have had a better chance for sure. Obviously, the coronavirus didn't help anybody's production with anything. So I do think that had they came out maybe a year earlier, there's a chance. There's a good chance they might have been able to gain a little bit more traction. But the flip side to it is everybody was at home. So they really didn't have a need to look for something bite-sized. They were home. They were home in front of their television. And because Quibi initially made their decision, we're not doing anything for the television. Everything is going to be initially on the mobile device. And then they begrudgingly backed up on that after they seen that the initial reports, they weren't getting a lot of people that were holding on to their subscriptions. They got a lot of people that signed up for a subscription, but once the free trial ran out, then they stopped paying attention to it. So they obviously backtracked on those TV aspects, and I think they might have done a little bit too little, too late. But the COVID-19 pandemic did not help anybody this year, and Quibi is no different. They didn't help them at all. They didn't help them gain any traction. They didn't help them as far as being able to make different shows and produce different shows. And there was just a lot that happened. And 2020 was just a tough year really to get anything off the ground, if you will.
Absolutely. So we're saddened to see the death of a streaming outlet so quick, but I think this is going to be one of the first of many of these issues, because it's going to be a feast or famine as far as the streaming market is concerned. You're either going to be able to thrive off of it, and there's going to be about 4 or 5 or even 6, maybe at the most, that are really doing well off of it, and you can pretty much guess who those players are going to be. And then there are the mid-tier ones, like, for instance, CBS All Access, which is migrating and becoming Paramount Plus in January. That is already going to see that change. So the CBS All Access aspect of it, even though they have some outstanding shows, like I've talked about with Marcus on the show, the Console Wars documentary, all the Star Trek stuff that they have, they've had some really good stuff there. That has not been able to click enough to the audiences to where, CBS All Access is going to be something everybody wanted. So they're actually changing it to Paramount Plus to try and infuse something different into the mix there. I mean, we're going to start seeing in the not too distant future more streaming service like Quibi bite the dust, and I think it's going to be something that just happens when you throw all these streaming outlets out there at one time. There's only so many people can choose.
Yeah, that's so true. And then again, you're also looking at the cost, right? If we were all looking to cut the cable, we were all looking at cutting cable, and we're all looking at the cost of cutting cable, right? A typical cable package was about anywhere between 1 to 120, 125 maybe. So if you look at all the different streaming avenues that you have, because we all pay for Netflix, right? So if you look for the Netflix and you look at the Disney Pluses and you look at the now you have Peacock for Comcast. Xfinity has Peacock or whatever. You have Peacock. You have Apple Plus. You got HBO Max. Like, there's so many you can't even keep up with. But if you think about it, if each one of those is anywhere between $8 to $15 per, you're already looking at an additional $60, $60 to $70. Now you're coupling that with what you're paying for cable, because you're probably paying for some pretty decent cable internet, which is probably going to be anywhere between $75 to $100 a month. You're right at cable prices. Everything that you've just gotten rid of. Now, granted, the nice thing about that is you have the choice to cut those off. It's all about having the opportunity to cut those off, but it doesn't change the fact that we're at a point now we've got so many different streaming services. We might as well just have cable again.
Exactly. Although, like you said, it's a little bit easier to toggle it on and off.
Yes.
Like, for instance, I know a lot of people are getting back on the Disney Plus train this month because there's a certain Baby Yoda that's going to be appearing at the end of this month. So I know a lot of people are actually going ahead and getting it just for that. And it seems very cyclical. Like, for instance, Netflix. A lot of people, when Stranger Things comes out, a lot of people will be getting back on that, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be something we're continuing to see and gauge as far as the streaming market is concerned, because the streaming market has now become as important, if not more important, than broadcasting cable television, because it is more representative of the future. And not only has Disney, but other companies have said, you know what, we're going to focus more on the streaming outlets in the future. So there's going to be more Quibies coming down the road, and it's unfortunate to see. But I'll tell you what, my friend, there's going to be also more opportunity for those looking to go ahead and watch some good streaming out there.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts out there on the death and very quick rise? Actually, it wasn't very much of a rise, but very quick death of Quibi. We want to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, there's still a lot more great news on tap for this week, including Vin Diesel. His family, got to have his family. Well, he's only going to have his family for not one, but two more movies. We all knew about Fast and Furious 10. That was getting delayed, and it's gotten delayed because, like, all these other movies are getting delayed as far as the release date is concerned. But Justin Lin, the director and pretty much the mastermind behind, along with Vin Diesel, the Fast and Furious series, he has signed on for only two more, and they pretty much said, well, outright said, that these two are going to be the last as far as the movie series is concerned. Although I seriously doubt that it's going to be the end of the Fast and Furious universe, because as we just talked about, that's a Universal property, and Universal has this little thing called Peacock. So are you sad, first off, before we go into other questioning, are you sad at first off that the Fast and Furious series is going to end at 11?
My list of 2020 things that we've had to talk about in 2020, the fact that we're still talking about the Fast and Furious in 2020. I remember going to see the first Fast and Furious years ago, years and years and years ago. So the fact that we're in 2020 and we're still talking about new Fast and Furious movies is insane. The fact that they've been able to sustain and seem to have gotten better as the series has progressed is really a testament to their willingness to change, is a testament to their ability to change, not just their willingness, but their ability to actually do it and to continue to find ways to invigorate new life. This is just insane. So am I sad? No, I'm not sad. I'd be lying to you if I said I was sad. I think 11 films is a lot for one movie franchise. However, what's going to be interesting is that, they said that that's going to be the last entry, but as you mentioned, with the Peacock service, Universal, they're not going anywhere. So they're going to have different spinoffs. There's going to be another Hobbs and Shaw. Dwayne Johnson's already said that they're already going to be working on another Hobbs and Shaw, and whatever other spinoffs come from this Fast and Furious family that they have going on. While the numerical entries might be ending, I don't think Fast and Furious is clearly not, is positioning himself to not go anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's exactly what I was going to lead into, is that as we're seeing with HBO Max, as we're seeing with Disney Plus, these streaming services are very much an influence on what's going to go on for the future. And we are going to, rest assured, see spin-off series for the Fast and Furious with either new characters or somehow relating to current characters in the series, plus Hobbs and Shaw. At least one more round of Hobbs and Shaw will come, because that earned well over $700 million worldwide at the box office. Not quite $1 billion, but for a spinoff, that's pretty darn good.
Sick. Something about The Rock. Anytime The Rock touches anything, it's like just injecting pure adrenaline into it. Like, it just automatically shoots. I remember G.I. Joe I don't know if anybody ever seen the first one, but that second one got really good because The Rock was in it. And same thing with the Fast and Furious. I think he was introduced in Fast 5.
Yes, I think
his character Hobbs was introduced in Fast 5, and again just keeps continuing to go. Now this one that was delayed, Fast 9. They don't have Dwayne Johnson in this one. This one's going to actually have John Cena, who's playing Dom's little brother.
Or as my daughter would say, John Cena.
Yes, him, that guy. So he's going to be playing Dom's little brother. So I'm interested to see how that dynamic works. But then, obviously, if they're talking about they're going to end it at Fast 11, can Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel put their differences aside for the benefit of the family?
No, it's going to be for the benefit of
of the dollar.
Yes, the dollar, man.
Dollar bill.
Universal's, they fork over enough cash for it. Yeah, absolutely. The only thing though is at its height, which right now in the middle of a pandemic, or even just after that, audiences are going to be very slow to get back to the theaters. Mm-hmm. I don't think you will see the continual worldwide 1 billion dollars. But even if the next one comes out and gets 500, 600, 700 million dollars, it's going to be a relative environment. How much money can it make as far as the share of audience going in? I think that will continue to tell us if the series has the legs to continue. And I'm think going out 11 is a good time. I would have liked to see them go out at 10 just because it's an even number, but I think 11 is going to be able to say, you know what, we're finished with this. We're done with this part of the saga. But you and I both know, like I said, we're going to be seeing spin-offs and things of that nature because it is just too good of a property now to pass up.
Absolutely. And I think they originally planned on it being 10 part 1 and part 2. And I think they just decided to call part 2 11. So they were almost there with the even number. And then they just got greedy. Like every other place does.
But I want to hear your thoughts out there on Fast and Furious ending at 11. So we want to go ahead and hear your thoughts on that. But do you think, and TJ and I sure don't, that is going to be the end of the Fast and Furious IP? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, before I hit up Mac Marshall from Turtle Beach at the back end of the hour, for those listening on radio and also on the podcast outlets, I want to ask your thoughts on Jared Leto coming back as the Joker. He's coming back, surprisingly enough, not for the upcoming Suicide Squad movie, not for a sequel to, anything else. He's coming back to work with Zack Snyder on the Justice League Snyder Cut. And that is something that was very out of left field for me. I was very surprised like that. So I want to hear your thoughts. It's obviously not going to be a big role. It's not going to be something where it's going to be taking over the entire movie. But having him in there at all is a great surprise to me.
It was a fantastic surprise. I just, he just won't die. Jared Leto's Joker just won't go away, no matter how many times. You saw
Birds of Prey. She blew up the whole,
I'm saying, but it all happened so quick, all off screen. Like, he just won't go away. Like, this entire Jared Leto Joker thing is just not. He's just not interested in going away. And you know what? I don't know if I'm mad at him about that. As far as in this particular movie, I don't really see the point. Unless it's to kind of bridge the gap from some of the other films, some of the older films, and kind of share in a continuity, but they've already specified that this is going to be its own continuity since this is the Snyder Cut. So I really don't know what they're doing. It's not like we're going to see Joker walking around with the mother box, hailing Darkseid as he comes down. Like, that's not what Joker's character is that's not what he's about. So I'm sure this is going to be, as you mentioned, kind of more like a filler, go back into a little backstory, maybe go back into some of the stuff that happened between Batman and Joker in regards to him killing Robin and kind of going off in that and maybe talking about how he's weaker with a group than he is by himself. I don't know. I don't know their rationale. Obviously, it's just not going to be a huge thing. I tell you what, though, man, I have not been so excited for a Zack Snyder anything ever in life. I am so in ever. I was never a huge fan of Zack Snyder. I thought he was a very, very accomplished visionary director. Obviously, 300 was just incredible. Yes. Sin City was incredible. Just his style, Watchmen, was incredible. The way his mind works and the way he likes to shoot his films is very you know, a Zack Snyder film.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I was a huge fan. I did enjoy Sin City. I enjoyed 300. I Watchmen was just a little long for me, and a little drawn out. It was
I agree with you.
it was very source specific. Now it stuck to the source material greatly, but
Which may have been to its detriment to a regular audience.
Exactly. You know, when you're trying to do things mainstream, it's a little different than having your core group. So saying that to say, I am stoked, man. I can't wait to see what Zack Snyder does for all these reshoots. I mean, I think HBO allowed $30 million for the reshoots, and
no, it's actually a lot more. That was the initial thing, but it's going to come out to about $80 million, I think. So I mean, they've been on the hook for probably close to, when all is said and done, if you consider the original.
Yeah.
No, if you consider the original. If you add all in from the original filming when it was getting done with everything that was done before and what's being done now, it's probably going to total out to either 350 or $400 million.
Jeez. And you know what? That's twofold, right? Because that shows the amount of confidence that they have in Zack Snyder's vision.
Yeah.
That shows the amount of confidence that they have, and it also shows the respect that they have to allow him to turn around and finish this off, right? They understood everything that happened during Justice League with his daughter and his family, and he had to step away, and they get it. And then obviously Josh Whedon came in and butchered everything that Zack Snyder was doing, clearly, because we've seen what the final product ended up being. So I think it's a huge testament to their respect, and I think it's a huge testament to the fans. They've been calling for the Snyder Cut since the original came out. Since Justice League came out, they've been calling for the Snyder Cut, because obviously it was not what Zack Snyder was doing. And they just didn't stop. They never quit. They never backed down. They never yielded in any way, shape, or form. They pressured the studio, and you know what? The studio said, you know, if the people want it, that's what we're going to give them. I think this is going to kind of change the way we look at a lot of films moving forward. I mean, even when you look at Suicide Squad, I believe David Ayers made a comment about how, you know, his cut's going to be his director's cut would be completely different, but would be very easy to put together, and et cetera. You're going to see more and more of these directors who want their vision of the film that they've been hired to do is what's put out. Now, obviously, you get the studios involved, and they say, well, I want more Superman, or I've got to sell more Batman merchandise, so we need to add more Batman into the story and find a way to make this happen. That's not the director's vision. So it's going to be interesting to see how this changes the way directors look at doing films moving forward. They may just look at it and say, okay, I'll do what you want now, but then when I do the director's cut, you'll be able to see my true vision for the film and kind of go that route. So I'm interested to see. I'm excited, though. I'm really excited to see what this turns out.
Well, because streaming outlets need so much content now.
Yeah,
that's something that you're going to have as far as, but like, for instance, Blade Runner. Blade Runner is probably one of the best examples of how there's like 7 different cuts out there.
Yep.
If I forget who has the rights to the Blade Runner series, maybe it's Warner Brothers. I'm not sure. Wouldn't it be interesting to have all 7 cuts on the streaming outlet right there, so you can pick and choose which one you want? Same thing goes for what we're going to be seeing with the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. And you can go ahead and choose the original theatrical cut, which is already on HBO Max already, or coming up in the future, which they think is going to be a really big hit, which I think is going to be a really big hit, is obviously the Zack Snyder cut, because there's so much hype for it.
Yes.
And if that's the case, like you said, with the David Ayers cut of Suicide Squad, you have, I mean, because you've got Suicide Squad from James Gunn. What a better way to promote James Gunn's Suicide Squad than having the Ayers cut come on before, 2-3 months before, just to hype up it even more and have that Ayers cut pop in there. That would be just a great way to go ahead and really get the Suicide Squad re-energized, because everybody was, after seeing the original theatrical cut of Suicide Squad, was really just like, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, it's very true. I think that, again, one of the great things that we have as far as social media is concerned is the ability to really kind of generate noise and when it's done correctly, you know, there's obviously with social media, there's ways where it can be a little bit toxic, a little disheartening. Obviously, one of the things that we talked about on the Lakers Fast Break podcast is the way that they had the hashtag, Cal for, fire Cal Kuzma, and how they were making attacks to Danny Green and his family. Social media can be very, very disheartening. It can be very, very toxic. However, there are circumstances like this where the studios can see the amount of attention, and that's how they garner, if something's going to be successful or not. They look at the mentions, they look at the likes, they look at the retweets and the tweets and the subtweets and the tweets, and they look at all of that to say, okay, this is actually going to garner a lot of attention. And because this is going to garner so much attention, we may actually want to focus on this. So it really is a testament to the fans. It's a testament to us as media, whatever. It's a testament to the people who are really pushing to say, hey, this is something that we as a general audience, as fans, really, really want to see, and that we as general audience and fans are willing to pay to see. I think that's also the big thing is, we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're not just saying it for the sake of saying it. There are people that are going to be clamoring to be able to see these. And the fact that we're going to have HBO Max and we have these other outlets to be able to get this content is going to just show them that, there really is a demand for it. And if there's a demand for it, we got to try to find a way to fill it. So kudos to social media.
Absolutely. And we're happy to see that the Zack Snyder cut is coming out with Jared Leto in as far as the Joker's concerned, which is a big surprise. But we want to hear from you out there. Is Jared Leto coming back as the Joker to the Justice League Snyder cut a big thing for you? We want to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next for people out there on radio and podcast outlets, it is Mac Marshall from Turtle Beach. But on the back end of the show, TJ and I will be talking about Raya and the Last Dragon, Borat 2, and No Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. That's coming up at the back end of the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. You're just already cracking up already.
Every time you say Charlie Brown now, I was going to lose it, man. Every time you say Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown. All right, and we're back with the show. It is the PCC Multiverse. Having a great time indeed. I want to thank so much Mac Marshall for Turtle Beach being on the program as well. You want to go ahead and check out turtlebeach.com or Rocket, ROCCAT.org for all the great line of computer peripherals and, of course, awesome headsets that are available for you now that you can get for your consoles right now and your PC, and also can get you prepared for the coming generation of consoles. Before we head on out, my friend, 3 last things. Raya and the Last Dragon. Disney dropped a trailer for that animated film, which is coming out in March 12th to be exact. As of right now, I should just put the word tentative because, when it comes to movies, it's all tentative right now. But I am really intrigued by this film. It is really telling to me. I think it has the basis for a great story. Kelly Marie Tran from Star Wars, the most recent Star Wars, and also Zoe Awkwafina are in starring roles, and they're 2 awesome actresses. Awkwafina was, for me, in 2019, had one of the best performances of last year. So they're coming off. They're 2 awesome actresses, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the rest of the cast and what the story is going to evolve into even more. But did you get a chance to check out the trailer, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I did. I absolutely checked out the trailer. I was getting a lot of strong Moana vibes. I know it's set from the creators of Moana and it's set from the creators of Frozen. So I get that that's kind of the direction that they were going. But it actually looked like it was going to be pretty darn good. I'm intrigued to kind of see the way that they show, because there's a clear time jump, right? The little cute little roly-poly or armadillo. I think it was an armadillo. The cute little armadillo was so small at the beginning and just cute. And I can already see the marketing wheels turning for these toys and stuffed animals. I see it coming down the pipeline, and then all of a sudden, towards the end of the trailer, thing is huge and she can't move it. So obviously there's a big time jump there. But it looks like it's something that's going to be one of those, almost like another coming of age story that Disney is just really good at putting out there. Disney is just good at having these stories that find a way to touch hearts, find a way to really kind of inspire, and kind of find a way to really just make you stop and just be in awe for a little bit. Even for just a few hours, it really makes you just stop and enjoy the moment. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure that's going to be something that my daughter will see the trailer for and will want to see at some point. So I'm sure that's something that we will do. But I enjoy having those opportunities with her. So as long as Disney's going to keep putting them out there, the Frozens, the Moanas, all the Pixar movies, we're with it. It looked really good, though. I'm excited.
I am excited for it as well. It does look really good, and I'm really excited that the screenplays were developed by the Asian community. Adele Lim and Kui Nien both helped with the screenplay. The directors, it is like you said, the directors I think from the Moana and whatnot, but I understand that at least we'll have the full Asian influence because this is an Asian story, and this is going to be able to be told by Asian actors, and that I think is really something as you are familiar with, as you said before, how much it really inspires you when you see, like for instance, Black Panther and all these stories that are now created by the African American community that are being supported with in the background, not only in front of the camera but behind it as well. So we are seeing that. Mulan, I know that got a lot of pushback because of the fact that the directors and the writers were not of Asian descent. So we saw that going on there, among other things with that film. I think that's one of the many reasons why it never will live up to the expectations that were being held for it. But it actually did pretty good as far as initially on Disney Plus, even with the $30 price tag. Do I think Raya and the Last Dragon will eventually end up there instead of a theatrical release? It all depends on where we're at with COVID. And if they really wanted to go ahead and delay it, they may throw this like they are Soul, Pixar Soul, right to Disney Plus. I could see that happening, but people should not underestimate this film. This film looks like it's really something worthwhile. It looks like another big hit for Disney Animation, which for a while, I think in the early 2000s, was something Disney Animation was really on the low end, really struggling. But in the last decade and a half, have become on par with their Pixar counterparts because it was always Pixar, 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 Pixar. Yep. But then you saw, like you said, Moana and Frozen, especially coming out, and Frozen 2 and all that, garnering those big hits for Disney. Now they're on par with Pixar, and I really think they can hold their head high because this is a movie I think that will continue that process for them.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. And I'm really curious to see how this direct to streaming, if they decide to go that route, because as you mentioned, I know it's supposed to be released of March 12th.
I'm in Vegas. I'm gonna say if it keeps that date, I'm gonna say the money is probably more in line with that. I'm just guessing.
And the way I'm looking at it is I really want to see the way that these studios decide, especially with COVID, because I don't believe it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. Unfortunately, I think it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets any better. But the truth is that there's still movies that they're just sitting on waiting for a theatrical release. I mean, we're still waiting on Black Widow. We're still waiting on I know they pushed the Batman back to 2022. Like there's a lot of things that are being pushed and held on.
The Avatars, Jurassic World,
all this stuff.
Which we talked about. Yeah,
exactly. All these things are being held back. I'm really kind of curious as to if they're going to say, you know what, just release them digitally, and they'll have to look at garnering. They'll have to look at their metrics from a different standpoint. It's not going to just be about the dollars anymore. But then the flip side to that is, okay, if a movie costs $50 million to make, now we don't necessarily have, we still have a marketing campaign to do. We don't have to go out and go to these different shoots. We don't have to have this big premiere. We don't have to do some of the other things, the aspects that come along with it, because we're not doing a physical, quote unquote, physical release anymore. So now we're going straight digital. So the marketing that we would do is going to be a little bit different. The way that we're going to go about spending the money on this is going to be a little different. So I think they're going to have to look at a different metric as far as just dollars. They're going to have to look at other things to garner how successful these digital releases are. I tell you what, I'm ready to see Black Widow. It's going to be 5 years later when we finally see it, but I'm ready to see Black Widow. I'm ready to see the next Jurassic Park World movies. I'm ready to see the next Avatars. I'm ready to see all these films that are there. And obviously we're all home. We've got time. So we're looking for things to watch, and they just haven't given it to us yet. So I'm ready. I'm ready for this stuff.
If only we worked in the film library departments for one of these studios. Let's say Disney, and just like, oh, you happen by and You dust off. Oh, what is this? Black Widow. Oh, there
let's
you
just put
go.
that out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just go ahead and just take a look at it. There you go. Get a sneak peek. But I will ask, I will tell everyone out there, we are excited for Raya and the Last Dragon. It is something that's coming out as of now. And, you get that pencil and eraser ready. It is coming out, yes, tentatively at March, on March 12th of next year. Are you excited for Raya and the Last Dragon? Could this be the next big hit for Disney? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, Amazon Prime might have a big hit this weekend, my friend, because Borat 2 hits the airwaves, and it's getting okay reviews, pretty good reviews from wherever you see, but it is more about the controversy and how it's coming out before the general election here in the United States to all of our listeners out there worldwide that check us out. But it is coming out just before the general election. Very, very timely, I should say. But it is Borat 2. I'm not going to announce, again, that long extended name. I don't want to read that out. Marcus did for us previously on the show and almost took the entire show doing it because it's so long. But I want to hear your thoughts on Borat 2 hitting Amazon Prime this weekend. I know Rudy Giuliani is not exactly in love with it right now.
What are my thoughts on Borat 2? Well, if I have to be frank, I don't really care. I was not a fan of the first Borat. I mean, yeah, it had a lot of shock value because can this guy really be this asinine? Can this guy really be this oblivious to everything that he's doing? The fact that it's coming out before the general election is definitely going to raise some eyebrows. And, I think that it's actually a testament, shout out to Amazon Prime for even putting themselves in a position to get Borat and even putting themselves in a position to have that on their streaming service. Amazon Prime never came across to me as that kind of streaming service.
Well, they've been a lot more aggressive lately.
They're being very aggressive. And, I guess you have to, the market's changing, with the Disney Pluses and the Peacocks and the Universals, are the NBCs and all that stuff that's going to get ready to come out. Netflix, you got no choice. So I kudos to Amazon Prime for wanting to put their foot out and actually get this. I just don't know if this would have been the sword that I laid down on. I don't know if Borat would have been the one that I would have been like, I have to have it. It doesn't seem like a movie for me, but bad publicity or negative publicity is still publicity. I mean, they're still going to get people that are going to check it out just because of the fact that it's Borat. People are going to watch it and they're going to draw people to Amazon Prime just because it's Borat. So they're doing everything that they need to do. I can't say that I'll be amongst the people that watch it. I have no desire. I really don't. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Rudy is going to be too happy with it. But I hear that, he's already kind of said, well, this is what I was doing during this shoot anyway. So I'm not really worried about it. And that's the game that these politicians play. Who knows the truth besides them and whoever they was there with and whomever, man. I don't know. But Borat is going to be interesting, I'm sure, and I'm trying to garner excitement for it, but I can't.
Well, it's not, to me, it's not whether people are excited for it. I think a lot of people are going to check it out, like you said, just because it touches on so many political themes. But for the bigger thing is what you mentioned early on. It's Amazon. That's the bigger picture because they're coming off an extreme high with The Boys season 2, which The Boys was their biggest hit ever.
Yes,
and then they said The Boys season 2 was tracking at almost 100% higher than what Boys season was. So it is now among the most popular shows. If it was on Netflix, it would be right there in the mix. That tells you how well it's doing. And this is something this is something I had said a long time ago, back in the early days of the Pop Culture Cosmos with Josh, where we had talked about, I constantly criticized Amazon Prime because they had all this money from what they're doing, everything else. And Amazon Prime just seemed like a throw-in, just seemed like something that they had a nice little library of older movies and stuff like that. Some original stuff that really wasn't, a half-hearted attempt. And then they started making all these critical hits, like The Marvelous Miss Maisel and some other things that far. Then they started getting a little bit more blockbustery stuff like Jack Ryan and things of that nature. Then they started really going out with The Boys. And now
Yes.
they're going to be talking about in the future the $500 million that they're dropping for the Lord of the Rings series that's coming up
Yes.
next year. I think we who knows
Yeah.
when that's
We'll
actually
see.
going to be. We'll see. But the fact is, they've come to the realization that they are a big player in this game, and they have all this. This one thing between Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix. They are all solely dependent on you subscribing to them.
Yep.
They have the big win because Amazon Prime doesn't have to be solely dependent on you buying the subscription for the video service. They have
Yep.
all these other reasons why you subscribe to Amazon Prime, and this is just one of them. And now that this is one of the major attractions because of shows like The Boys, things like they could go ahead now and just start buying up, like Netflix is buying up all these independent films that come out of these film festivals or whatnot, and they're buying it up, or somehow these properties or shows. They bought The Expanse when it got canceled on Sci-Fi. They bought that up, and that's been a big, huge for them. Marcus is extremely excited for season 5 coming out in December. So I think it is a bigger sign, Borat 2, which may or may not have fallen flat on his face had it been released theatrically in a regular environment. Let's say in 2019, going back to once again.
Right.
It is still going to be something that's going to earn viewership. It's going to be something that's going to, at least for the next 2 weeks, really get Amazon Prime out there. And I think, like you said, bad or not, controversy or not, it is something to get Amazon Prime's name out there. And that's something they weren't willing to do, not even 3 years ago. Yeah. That's something that they're willing to do now. They are willing to put their card in and say, you know what, we're a big player in this game now. And to that, I say, thank goodness.
Yeah, man. I mean, and like you said, The Boys are so good, and they're coming off such a high with that second season of The Boys. They are really becoming very, very aggressive in this. And it's also, like you mentioned, which was actually a perfect point. They have nothing really to lose. I mean, you're going to get Amazon Prime because you want to buy Amazon Prime product. Yeah. You're going to do Amazon Prime for the other things that Amazon Prime offers. Oh, and by the way, we have some of the best streaming shows out there right now. Yep. This is going to be fun to kind of see these streaming wars. I know we talked about the console wars show earlier. Yeah, I'm excited to see these streaming wars and how these guys and how their metrics are. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait in 20 years, if I'm living that long, to see the documentary on the streaming wars, especially the early years and how that plans out, because it's going to be something people are going to look back on and say, wow, that really happened.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts out there on Borat 2 hitting Amazon Prime this weekend? We want to hear your thoughts. Is it really that controversial shakeup type thing that really is going to get you going, or is really going to turn you off to Amazon Prime? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for being a part of it, but excuse me, before we head on out, I want to go ahead and bring some bad news to you, and bad news to a lot of people out there, and that is, no Charlie Brown on broadcast television here in America, in the United States, as far as the Thanksgiving, the Christmas special, all the stuff, all the Charlie Brown Peanuts episodes, special episodes that appear even to this day for 50 years on broadcast primetime television, is no more, at least for this year, because Apple Plus has the rights to Peanuts. So people didn't think about that when they said, oh yeah, Peanuts is going to be playing on Apple Plus. Oh, that's great, and all that stuff. Oh, by the way, did we mention that we're going to have the holiday specials? That didn't come to light until this week. So when CBS announced and said, you know what, we're not going to be broadcasting it, and Apple Plus said that they were, that to me and a lot of other people was really a letdown indeed, because that's part of our history. That's part of our culture. Yep. I mean, and it's the Christmas special, the Thanksgiving special. Yes. So I want to hear your thoughts, man, before we go ahead and out, and hear your thoughts on Peanuts not coming to broadcast television.
I have to be honest with you. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about that at all. That was a very, very much a part of our culture. That was, now I'd be lying to you if I said I watched it last year or the year prior to that, because I didn't. But I remember
at some point you did.
Yes, I remember very, very fond memories of sitting in front of the television and watching those specials with my brothers, sitting in front of the television, watching those specials with my cousins when I would go to my grandma's house. That's just part of the that's just part of the culture. So to not have that option anymore, unless you purchase Apple Plus, another streaming service, go figure, unless you purchase Apple Plus to be able to watch it, you're not going to see it. So
Well,
it's just
I
one of
will
the
throw this in. I will throw this in. Apple Plus has said for a limited window, and in this case, and I'm sure it's going to be the same case for all the other holiday specials, it is going to be available for 3 days right around Halloween, free of charge for anyone. But again, you got to know that.
They're so
Yeah,
kind.
you got to know that, and that's to me is a kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it really is. It's a bummer to see. I remember, just the other day, obviously as we're getting closer to Halloween, Disney Plus has Hocus Pocus, which is another one of those yearly. It comes on, you watch it. Rather you've seen it 25 times or 100 times. It's one of those things. It comes on every year. You watch it. So while we were excited to be able to see that, I would hope that it doesn't take away from it being able to show up anywhere else. So
Well, I think it was on ABC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which is also happen to be owned by Disney. So
yeah,
as long as it's still showing up there, then that should be great. But the fact that we're not going to be able to see Charlie Brown except for those 3 days, and if you didn't know about it, then you would have missed it. That's disheartening, man. That's one of those things that we're just it's almost as American as pie. Like you expect apple pie for certain events. You expect apple pie at certain times. You expect Charlie Brown to be on. You expect to hear the music and the good grief, Charlie Brown. Like you expect to hear that. And the fact that we're not going to hear it unless you physically go out and get yourself Apple Plus or those 3 days that it's going to be showing, it's a little disheartening, man. I got to admit, while I love the idea of everybody getting aggressive, trying to get theirs and trying to find ways to draw people to their platforms, there are certain things that shouldn't be touched. And I feel like Charlie Brown is one of them. There's this. You just don't mess with Charlie Brown. You just don't. You don't mess with Charlie Brown, and they're messing with Charlie Brown. So that's not okay. You mess with Charlie Brown, you mess with me. That's not all right.
Well, I'll tell you what, maybe as a way to make up for it, I'll go ahead and finish the rest of the show speaking to you like a teacher would speak to Charlie Brown. Wah 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 wah.
Yeah,
that's
just
a bummer
not okay.
indeed.
Not okay.
Not okay. Neither am I, my friend. Neither am I. But what are your thoughts up there on Peanuts and the Charlie Brown specials, especially the holiday ones that are going to be exclusively shown on Apple Plus and will no, at least for now, no longer be broadcast on American broadcast television? I don't know around the world. Please let us know if they're no longer on your outlet everywhere around the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and we can update this story as well. Wah, 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 wah. Or popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for being a part of it. Any last thoughts from you on the way out?
Hug your family, give you kisses while people are still here. Don't wait until people are gone to give out roses, man. Life's too short. And go watch that movie that you wanted to see.
Absolutely. Wah, 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 wah. Charlie Brown, indeed. Thanks again to Mac Marshall from Turtle Beach for stopping by. TJ, it's been awesome. I want to get you back on whenever you can, my friend. It's always been a pleasure. Check out your thoughts on Watchdog Legions on our Pop Culture Cosmos channel, available right now. You go ahead, check out the Game Source profile on that. It's just been such a great time having you part of the show. And again, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. So for TJ Johnson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great